persuade you to believe what tonight I hope I will try to. Your entire world would change. You hear the word God, the word Jehovah, the word Lord, the word Jesus, the word Christ, and you think of something other than yourself, one that is greater, one that you would worship. Tonight it is my purpose to show you that God and the I of man are one. When you say I am, that is the God of Scripture. Confined as you are, you think, how could it be? God created the universe and sustains it. And here I am, like a little worm, 10 years, and then I vanish. But now let us turn to Scripture. We turn now to the 16th chapter of Matthew. And the question is asked of the disciples, the followers, those who have heard it. And he said to them, who do men say that the Son of Man is? And they reply, well, some say John the Baptist, come again. Others, Elijah. Others, Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. And then he said to them, but who do you say that I am? And the spokesman called Peter answered and said, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. And he said to him, blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood could not have told you this, but my Father who is in heaven. So here he equates the Son of Man with the eye of man, not the organ that sees or through which you see, but your sense of awareness. That I amness, when you are aware of being, your consciousness, your human imagination. So he equates the two. The Son of Man spoken of in the Old Testament and brought forward into the New is nothing more than the eye of man. And he calls it the Christ, and defines Christ as the Son, of God. Now we find Christ being defined in the New Testament as the power of God and the wisdom of God. So the eye of man is the power of God and the wisdom of God. If man does not know it, well, then he will not exercise that power. He will not exercise that wisdom. So tonight I am trying to persuade you that when you say I, before you say anything, that is the power and the wisdom of God. You can't separate the power of God and the wisdom of God from God. So you will say in the end, I and my Father are one, for he is called the Son of God. Now we are called upon to test this. No one has ever ascended into heaven but he who descended from heaven, the Son of Man. You'll read that in the 3rd chapter, the 13th verse of John. So here we find you are a pre-existent being. No one can ascend into heaven but he who descended from heaven, the Son of Man. And you will ascend in the same manner that Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness. That was an adumbration. That was a foreshadowing. You will rise from the base of your spine, up your spine into your own skull, for heaven is within you. And you will rise like a fiery serpent, without any loss of identity. The form you wear, I hesitate to describe it. I will tell you that your face is human, your hands are human, your voice is human, but do not ask me to describe the body that you wear. It's infinite power, infinite wisdom, and yet it is a form. You don't take off the garment. You wear it for your 10, and if by strength, your 40, or maybe even longer, or shorter. But the eye of man is the God of Scripture. Put it to the test. Let me now, first of all, before we go into the testing of it, make clear what I said on the last lecture night, Friday night, prompted by a question that was asked here. For I have said in the previous lecture that there are rights in heaven as they are on earth, for this is only a copy. Everything here is a shadow, it's a copy of the eternal realities. And in the 12th chapter of 1 Corinthians, Paul describes the 10 or the 8 rights. He does it many times, but he never changes the first two. The first is always the apostles. The second, the prophets. The third, the teachers, and then he goes on. Miracle workers, healers, helpers, administrators, and the speakers in tongues. But he never changes the first and second, the apostle and the prophet. If you believe what I tell you about your own I amness and remain faithful to what you have assumed, that assumption will harden into fact. When you pray in the true sense of the word, you do not pray to any external God. That was my command when I was sent. Down with the blue bloods. Has nothing to do with the social structure of the world. It has only to do with church protocol. All external worship, all ceremonies, everything that leaves the individual outside of himself. If imagining creates reality, there is no fiction. So, someone expressed her thought and called the captain while at sea and demanded $1 million and would settle for $350,000. Well, it must have cost them, I should say, more than $1 million to stop that huge hunk in mid-Atlantic and then feed 2,200 people 4 times a day for the extra meals that they would have coming to them. So I say to everyone here, believe me, your own wonderful I amness, your consciousness, your wonderful human imagination, that is God. And all that you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow. So you can change the shadow if you change the object, for you are the light. He said, I am the light of the world. Change the object that you're holding within yourself and identifying yourself with it. Change that object, you're light enough, and you'll cast a new shadow upon the world. So you say, I am, and you name it. And then you say, I am unemployed. No, I am gainfully employed. Making more than I've ever made before. Don't ask yourself how, why, and through whom. That is not your conscious reasoning mind's concern. If you take the intellectual background, the educational background of those who are making top money in the theatrical world, I doubt that they could pass any college examination. I don't think they could pass any entrance examination to college. Yet they're making $1 million, $2 million a year. Do you think Bob Hope could pass today's examination for entrance into college? But all of his material is written for him anyway. Can't even write that. But he has millions, all right, because that's how he drank. May I tell you? I know the background of the man. A friend of mine who is now gone from this world played in vaudeville with him. And he would borrow from my friend every week a sum of money because he had to go to that post office and buy a postal money order and send to his bank before the light changed and hailed the oncoming taxi and said, you're taking me right now. And the maid who could have killed us, she was so big and strong, was so reduced to impotency because of the discovery. And the maid took her to the place where she had stored that furniture. She said, I'm not bringing action against you. I want my furniture. And she got it back into her own apartment within the week. A seeming mistake was the way the Father laid her. All I ask is to go to the end. If I go to the end and give thanks to the end, and for the end, it's done. Now let the one in the depth of my own being devise the best means to take me to that end. The end is where I start. The end is my beginning. The end is where we begin. In my end is my beginning. And we're always ahead of our evidence. So I go to the end. I see the whole thing done, and then drop it, and let it happen in my world. No one called Jesus is going to appear. He's not going to push any stone away from you when you come out of that tomb. And then you will know the words of John.